It's commonly thought that an employment contract can't be binding unless it's put in writing. Well, while this is true in some cases with contracts, generally speaking, unwritten contracts are enforceable. However, it's the written words that you're going to rely on if something does go wrong, so keep that in mind. So, let's cover off why you need an employment contract for each of your employees. Well, in short, employment contracts are your way of providing certainty about the legal rights and the obligations of both you and your employees. If a dispute with an employee does arise, this single document could well serve to be your saviour in minimising costly and very time-consuming disputes. There's been many a time in my HR career where I've brought particular clauses in an employee's contract to their attention due to their conduct or their performance being contrary to what was agreed in their contract. I mean, let's face it, nobody likes to have to confront employees in an underperformance discussion or misconduct or performance management meeting. So having the conditions of employment there in black and white allows you to take a lot of the emotion out of the performance meeting, because you're actually referring to and bringing their attention to a particular clause or clauses they're in breach of. In most cases, I've found this is all that's needed sometimes to bring an employee's conduct back on track once they've been reminded of what part of the contract that they're breaching or potentially going to breach if they continue, and they see their signature on there. So I'm just going to cover off finally in this video 10 standard terms that must be included in an employment contract. So you might want to check the employment contracts that you have in place and check that these 10 are there. First of all, you've got things like the name and personal details of the employee, and your details of the business, the entity name, trading as, the address, that sort of stuff. Second of all, you've got the type of employment. You need to put in the contract whether they're full-time, part-time, casual, for example, and also the commencement date. So remembering the commencement date is the date that they started in the business, the first day they started employment with your business. For an employee who is moving on to another role in the business, they may have started a few years ago, their commencement date was a few years ago, but the effective date of this employment contract for their new role will be the date they start in the new role. Another one you need to put on there is the job title and the description, where the classification level from the award. Another one is the number of weekly hours that they're going to perform. That needs to be in there. And also the amount and method of payment. So are they going to be a salaried employee? Are they going to be a weekly wage, an hourly rate, commission, or a piece rate, for example? You'll also want to put in information about their leave entitlements, and you'll find all of that in the relevant award. Termination provisions is another important one to include. So an employer has to give a minimum notice periods when dismissing an employee. However, an award or employment contract or enterprise agreement or other registered agreement can actually set out a longer minimum notice period. So the minimum notice periods, if somebody has been with you for a period of continuous service of 1 year or less, that would be a minimum notice period of 1 week. Whereas if they've been with you more than a year but less than 3 years, it'll be 2 weeks. If they've been with you more than 3 years but less than 5 years, it'll be 3 weeks. And if they've been in continuous service with you for more than 5 years, then the minimum notice period will be 4 weeks. A couple more standard terms that you want to put in your employment contracts around confidentiality. I would definitely make sure you've got a clause in there around confidentiality. And the final one I'll mention is provisions to deal with potential changes in the employee's role or their scope of duties. For example, will the same contract still apply if the employee has to change locations or roles or duties? So that's all for this video. I hope you found that useful, and remember, give us a call, email us, contact us through the website if you'd like to discuss anything you've heard in this video or in our previous video. If you're ready to get your employment contracts sorted, then give us a call and we can help you out with that.